lot of that non-dilutive funding available here. Doesn't take away from get your customer, because that's the best money. But to help you, non-dilutive funding is amazing here. So if you're not from Alberta, please come here. I'm getting a 5-minute warning. Let's go to the question there.
Yeah, so this is all great, so thanks for the time. I come from the stock market space, and I see this problem as more complex than just clients. I see it from a deep tech side. I believe that deep tech is a part of the value chain because customers do not have instruments, and we need a tech innovation to connect with the customers. So how do you go about judging deep tech that can change ESG, not just social, not just G, not just E, but a broader? How can it, as a deep tech company, I convince you that I have the instruments that you should be looking at me for pre-seed?
So may I?
Yeah, please.
So what I look at first is your technology space. Are you really carving out a space that's different? Are you building something on top of a space that can be in the future? Where some are looking at where the puck's going to be, I'm at the next game level, okay? And it's not because I'm brilliant. It's just that I think if you're looking in, take the future back, I look at those technologies that can back into where we are today. So you've got a really deep problem. I want to see how you're going to solve it, and the best you can do is describe your technology to me, maybe show where you've done some experimentation before you've even probably hit the field. If I think that that's a great space, and if you convince me, that's why I said invest in founders first, I'll get on your journey. And there'll be people behind me, and I hope to leave people behind me, because I think that some of my founders, I might not be lucky enough to live as long as they do, to their 30 years of research and development. But it's really trying to find how we can keep you funded and alive and scaling along that path. Very challenging, but very rewarding and very needed. So congratulations.
Thanks, Alison. We have time for one question, then we'll go into close.
Can I just share something really quickly?
Ahead.
I think one of the skills that is like the most, if you want to raise money, you should really invest in your own storytelling skills, right? Like, become an excellent storyteller, because you're using, like, words are your medium. And so just whatever that means to you, like, I don't know, take an improv class, like take a creative writing class, I don't know, just really work on your storytelling skills. I feel like it's going to really pay back. Yeah. Sorry.
Can I make a recommendation to do a podcast? Because it's going to help all these ventures. So you should do that. Maybe share that later. We can share that with everybody. That'd be amazing. Yeah. You had a question.
Very quick question. So we talked to a lot of companies in Alberta who've gone through various startup programs, accelerators, incubators, and when it's about time for them to raise funds, one thing we've noticed is that they keep saying that Canadian venture capital funds are very risk averse. If you want to make any kind of money, go to the US. It's easy, they get it in the US. So I'm trying to figure out, what do you think are the gaps here, and why do entrepreneurs feel that way?
I would say, I'll take that first and I'll open it up to the investors. I think that statement was true a few years ago. If you ask me today, I don't think that statement's true anymore. We've got amazing VCs here that have the same, if not a higher risk tolerance than the ones in the US, which also is the reason why a lot of the US VCs are coming here, right? So there is a lot more capital available. That statement that you made, I think now is a myth. So quite honestly, and I'll be very blunt, for ventures, you should be able to get Canadian VC funding. There should be no excuses. I would, again, rely on Chenny's advice of get your storytelling right. Because if you tell the right stories and you have the right founders and we can believe in you, we can believe and see your mission, we'll invest. So, anybody want to add to that?
I think storytelling helps, but also I think being the recipient of it, I don't really care about how professional you are. What I care is you have your tech chops, you've got your science chops, you have a forward idea of where you're going, and even if the words aren't coming out quite right, I want to hear your story. So, and I'll help you hone that story. So the next set of investors, you're going to get a bigger valuation because we taught you how to do it. And we're going to give you the edge. We're also building communities of investors around the world. The US is not the only place to invest, and it did change. What Ashif said, March of this year changed everything for Silicon Valley. Failure of a couple banks just changed the world. So it's a new world, it's a new paradigm. It's really inexpensive to invest in a Canadian company over many other jurisdictions. So find those good VCs out there. They're at the conference, and you'll find it. If you've got a good story to tell, even if you can't tell it perfectly like Chenny, you will be able to get investment.
I'm also just going to share, like I have like Claudia's voice in my head right now, where she's like, is there a limiting belief here that you're imposing on yourself that is no longer serving you? And what would it take for you to shed that? Yes.
Great thoughts. So I know we have how many minutes left? Okay, we're at time. I'll ask for a closing remark from each one of you, and the question is, what's one key takeaway that the audience can take? And I love conferences and sessions where we ask you and we give you homework. And so I want you to give them a pledge for them to think about making, something that they come out of this saying, I commit to doing X. So Alison, I'll start with you.
I will solve a very big problem that will have great impact. If you take that home, that's what I'd like to challenge you with.
Perfect. Chenny?
What's coming up for me is courage. What would it mean for you to cultivate courage?
Perfect.
Like just write one email that you're so scared to write, and just do it. Like just send it. See what happens.
That's bold. Scott?
I would say it definitely is courage is part of it, but set down on paper and be clear about your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And it goes to what problem are you solving? I think, tech for tech's sake, often ventures get mired in solving technical problems. I'm a recovering engineer, so I know how this works. At the same time, it's all about, what problem are you solving? And so your why, the intersection of your why and what problem you're solving, go out and put together an Ikigai chart. If you don't know that term, Ikigai is a powerful tool that can help you distill down why you're doing what you're doing.
Perfect. I'll give you three things, and this is what guides me. Just because you can, should you? And this is a question around ethics and values and morals. There's a lot of things you can do that will make you money quickly, but are they the right thing to do for society? So ask yourself that. Second one is, if it ain't broken, break it. Yeah, I'll say it again. If it ain't broken, break it. Why? Because if you don't, somebody else will do it. It might as well be you. And the third thing is, we can't move forward until we bring everybody with us together. So think about that. And that's the social impact side. If we just do things for ourselves here and leave people behind, we're not going to move forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.